Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be looking at all the Enchanteds from the new set Ursula's Return that's about to drop this week. We're going to be ranking them from highest demand to what I believe will be the lowest demand. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I do put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most, with this channel being dedicated to the Lorcana game. Now we are going to be looking at each and every one of the Enchanteds coming out with Ursula's Return, including the Store Championship Enchanted that has been revealed. I'm going to be ranking them from the most desirable and therefore probably most valuable to the least desirable and least valuable. If you weren't aware already, we do have 18 Enchanteds this set, again with some characters and some non-character cards, with a bonus 19th Enchanted being the one from the Store Championships for this particular set. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the list. All right, so we have our tiers here first. This is the Chase tier. These are the ones that I think will lead the charge, the most popular ones, the ones that are going to have the highest premium, and the ones that most people are going to be trying to trade for or purchase right out of the gates. High demand, that's going to be kind of our next level of demand there. Popular characters, good-looking cards that are either going to be in demand due to the character or the playability of the card, and as such is going to have a higher premium than the average. Collectible ones here, these are going to be kind of the less popular character cards, or possibly the more popular non-character cards that may find themselves in some decks, then people may want to actually play multiple copies of those cards. And then the completion only category here, this is the one that is reserved for cards that are the only demand they're going to have is for people who are trying to get all the Enchanteds out of these sets. You will notice the Enchanted list here is a little out of order. I'm going to try to do them in order as we go through, with our first one up being Cinderella. Now, normally I would put Cinderella in this Chase category here. However, we've already got a really, really good Cinderella in set 2, and I think that it's going to kind of stay the Cinderella Chase. So I'm going to end up putting this one at the top of the high demand. And it's not to say that this card can't end up in this Chase category, but I think it's got a lot of competition in this set. And having such a good Cinderella so recent, I think it's going to hurt the price of this particular Cinderella. Now, the caveat to that is if the Chapter 2 Cinderella just keeps increasing in price like it has been, it may just become so expensive that this one becomes the next one that they go to. It's still a great artwork, still a princess, so it's still got the princess tax on it. So it is going to be probably the very highest of our high demand one here in this category, but I don't think it's going to be quite high enough to get into the Chase. Next one, jumping down here to Minnie. I'm going to put Minnie Mouse into this high demand category as well. This is the first Minnie Mouse Enchanted that we have, and the artwork is not bad. I just don't think that Minnie Mouse is quite the same kind of fan following as either Mickey Mouse or as kind of your more traditional princesses. So I have her in the high demand category now. Again, she will be one of the higher demand ones that I think we will see, but I don't think she's going to end up being one of the chases from this set. She could have been in maybe like a set like set 3 where there wasn't as much competition for those chase spots. But in a set, this one is just chock full of popular characters and great artwork. I think she's going to be in that kind of high demand second tier on there. Look at This Family is our first song on the list, and that's going to go into the collectible category here. I am going to put it in the collectible over the completion only because I do think this card is going to see a little bit of play. I'm not a fan of this card. I've gone on record saying that I'm not a fan of this card. About the only deck I can see playing it is the Emerald Amber list, so they can sing it twice with a 3-drop Ariel and the 3-drop Ursula. But even then, that's kind of gimmicky to potentially get 4 character cards in your hand. I do think it will see some play, though. I think it's a popular enough movie, especially related to songs, that I do think that it will end up in the collectible category here. All right, moving to Amethyst. First Amethyst one we have is going to be the base set Ursula. And I'm going to put the base set Ursula in collectible. And I do apologize for the image. It's the only image we've had of the card so far. I do think that this card could be higher. And the reason why it won't be higher, I think, than the collectible category here is because we're getting, in my opinion, a better artwork for the Store Championship release of her. I'll go ahead and pull up that Ursula here since we're already talking about it. And I'll put this one. I think this one is going to end up in the high demand category. The card is, I think, an upgrade on the artwork. The means of acquiring it is going to be the Store Championship, similar to the Rockstar Stitch that we just had. I don't have it higher than the high demand one because we do have competing artworks, both Enchanted. So I do think it's going to kind of create some competition for people who are interested in the Enchanted. Some are going to have preferences for this artwork. Others are going to have preferences for this one. Others are going to have preferences for the price tag on this one and just shy away from the Ursula, because I do think this one will be a more valuable one, and it may even be more valuable than a couple of these other high demand ones just due to the difficulty in acquiring it, having to top 4 in a Store Championship, as long as they keep that consistent. But I do think the existence of this Ursula is going to keep this one from being in the high demand tier. And honestly, the existence of this one, I think, is going to keep this one from being a chase card quite on the same level as the Rockstar Stitch was. Next one up is Yen Sid. Yen Sid's hard for me to place because for me, he's kind of a high demand one because I love the character and the history behind him. And I think he's going to be popular in the Brooms decks as well. So getting the Enchanteds for those Broom decks is obviously going to create some additional demand for him as well. But I think on the whole, most people probably aren't as fond of this character or even aware of this character as I am. So I do kind of want to put him towards the top end of collectible. I tell you what, I'm going to put him at the bottom of high demand because I want to. Just be aware that he could also be kind of closer in line with some of these more collectible ones price-wise. I want him to be higher, so I'm going to place him higher, and hopefully I can manifest that for my boy Yen Sid there. But I would be happy to get Yen Sid, unlike some of the other characters in the set, just from a collector's standpoint because of that meaning to me. And I'm going to assume that I'm going to put myself in the majority of Disney fans out there versus the minority, and that it's going to bump him up into that higher tier there. Like I said, very playable card as well for the Brooms decks, which probably not tier 1, but I think a lot of people are going to be building those decks to play with because it's just there and kind of force-fed to us at this point in time. I'll have one built, and this card will be a 4 of in that deck. All right, last card for Amethyst here, and we only have the French image of this one so far. That's the last star on the right. I'm going to put that one here in the collectible tier above. Look at this family. I think this card is already getting tested with in some Jafar builds. Obviously, Jafar by himself can just about sing this Sing Together cost for 10. A lot of people are coupling it with Emerald, which I don't know that you really need to double this with Ursula. I think the fact that Jafar can sing 7 of this 10 by himself, and really just about any other character in play can help him sing it for 5, and that being a draw 5 and game 5 lore is probably good enough. The artwork is very solid on this card as well. Obviously, I think anything that is a song or just a non-character card in general is going to be hard-pressed to compete with some of these character cards that are out there, which brings us to our Emerald cards. We've got Diablo, and I am going to put Diablo up here in the high demand. This is a character that a lot of people probably don't know the name of, but a legendary card that I think a lot of people are really going to be trying to build around out of the gates, and as such is probably going to increase the demand for this particular card. Artwork is very nice, very much pops off the card with these bright green colors. And it is a perfect fit for what Emerald is trying to do. Whether or not it has enough survivability in the developing meta will determine how long this card stays kind of in this high demand category. I don't think long term that he's got a lot that's going to sustain his value, and if he doesn't end up getting picked up as kind of a main point staple for Emerald builds going forward. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to rush out and grab him. I think this is one that has more chance to drop than it does to go up on this list. But I still think out of the gates, he'll still be a relatively high demand one just due to the legendary status of his card. And again, the people that are trying to build around that particular build of Emerald. All right, next up is Jasmine. And Jasmine is going to be our first one in our chase tier here. This is her first Enchanted, which I think is going to help it the most. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this particular artwork. I don't think it really embodies most Jasmine collectors' images of Jasmine. A lot of greens in here, where I think a lot of times she's more associated with like the bluish tones. And there's just not a lot going on in the background other than kind of this green mist, which fits with the card, but again, doesn't fit real well with like the image of Jasmine and like the collectability of this card. Again, it's Jasmine's first Enchanted. Jasmine is a extremely popular princess, so I do think she will be one of the chases out of this set for sure. I do think she's probably going to be one of the lower chases out of this group, though, that we have. And then our last card out of Emerald is We Don't Talk About Bruno, which I'm actually going to put in the high demand category. I think this has the ability to be the Along Came Zeus for this set. This card is very, very good. I like the artwork a lot. This song is insanely popular right now. If you don't have kids that have this song like just stuck in their head on repeat, then I question your Disney fandom right now. But I think this card has all the things that it needs to be a successful Enchanted. Good artwork, great playability, and a very popular subject to end up in that kind of that high demand category, similar to what we saw with Along Came Zeus. And I'm going to go one further. I ain't even going to put this at the bottom of high demand. I'm actually going to put this above Diablo and Yensid because I think it just has a much broader appeal than either of these two do, and much more likely to be a staple in the format, I think, than these two as well. All right, moving on to Ruby, we've got Super Goof. Now, similar to Minnie Mouse, this is his first Enchanted for one of the Fab Five, and similar to Minnie Mouse, I am going to put him right here at the top end of high demand. I'm going to put him right under Minnie Mouse, I think. I will say I think he is a much better card than Minnie Mouse. However, I think Minnie Mouse has got a higher collector appeal than Goofy, and especially with it being Super Goof. And that's one thing I kind of want to address. Like, if it's not the kind of default image in your mind of these characters, that can hurt the value of these Enchanteds. I know for me, being a Hercules fan, the fact that they went with a Floodborn Hercules for his artwork never really made me want to go out and get that Hercules card. So I think for those traditional Goofy fans, the fact that they went with Super Goof here over just like the traditional kind of Goofy imagery may hurt the collectible value a little bit. But, you know, there could be those really niche Super Goof collectors that have been looking for, you know, something to latch onto, and it could end up outperforming Minnie Mouse. But I think these two will probably be pretty close in value, with Minnie Mouse getting my nod on that one. Right, next one up is Sisu, and I'm trying to be fair to this one. This one really aggravated me with its announcement. I thought for sure it was going to be Mulan as our last Ruby reveal, and instead Sisu is getting her second Enchanted. I'm going to put Sisu towards the bottom of collectible, though. I don't think this card is particularly good. I don't think this character is particularly popular. Now, I will say this, that the set 2 Sisu has been steady climber since the set released, and I can't really explain it, so she could end up outperforming, my projections here. Now, the set 2 Sisu did start very low, like I had anticipated she would, but she's been a consistent climber since the release of her set, whereas a lot of them have kind of either tapered off or even dropped. So this one could be a good long-term gainer, but I do think out of the gate, it's going to probably be towards the bottom of this collectible tier. I don't think anybody's really theory crafting or building around this particular card right now. This artwork doesn't, scream Sisu to me, even if you are a Sisu fan. And again, we already have another version of Sisu that I think is a better all-around card and imagery and collectible if you are a Sisu collector than this one would be. It's all just a bunch of things just working against this particular card, and unfortunately kept us from getting a Mulan Enchanted this set, so I'm probably extra down on this particular card. All right, last Ruby card and first location card, and we've got the Snuggly Duckling, and I'm going to put this down in the completionist only. It's the best location I think that we get out of this set of Enchanteds, but I still don't know that it's going to find a home in any kind of constructed deck. And honestly, I don't think it's as good as Pride Lands, and Pride Lands really never really took off as a high value card as a location either. The locations, unfortunately, for this set are probably going to be the biggest duds that we have, and Snuggly Duckling will probably be the best of those duds. I don't think I'm stepping on any toes here when I say I really wish they would stop doing so many of the songs and the locations as these Enchanteds. I think there are locations and songs that people do appreciate and do want in those Enchanteds. I don't think we've seen a location yet that really fits that mold. I do think there are some of those. I think we've seen a few songs. Again, I think We Don't Talk About Bruno is a great example of one of those that could be. I think a couple of the ones that were in set 1, I think would have made good candidates, like Be Prepared or Whole New World. I think there are those non-character cards that are worthy of the Enchanted treatment. I think we're getting a lot that aren't so far. So hopefully they streamline that a little bit going forward in the future sets. Now, our first Sapphire card is going to be Anna and her first Enchanted, which I'm going to put up here in the chase. Anna, Elsa, obviously extremely popular characters right now for the Disney franchises. This is being her first Enchanted. A lot of people are going to want this to pair with their Elsa Enchanted from set 1. Now, I will say the card choice that they chose for it, with it not, again, being her traditional look with the armor and the sword, I think is going to hurt this one's overall collectability. I think if you have a daughter who loves Anna, that this might not be the highest priority for her to get as kind of a collectible in her binder, just due to the fact that she's, wearing like plate mail and a sword and shield, versus, the Elsa, even though it was a Floodborn Elsa, was very much in line with how she normally looks in the animated shows and movies. But even in spite of that, I think the fact that this is Anna's first Enchanted, and you, again, have another princess / queen, and this spot is going to really drive up the value of this particular card. Next up, speaking of queens, we have the queen in her first Enchanted. I'm going to put her down here, probably just under We Don't Talk About Bruno. I'm actually a big queen fan. I think she's one of the better villains that we have out there. But like we saw with last set, Maleficent is probably the biggest, most popular villain that we have in the Disney Lorcanaverse, and she really didn't make much of a splash at all in terms of value. And this queen here, really, I don't see any real opportunity for her to shine in a constructed format. There could be an items deck that uses her as a copy, but honestly, like her stats and her having to survive until she can exert the following turn to have any effect at all, I think is going to reduce her chances of being a part of a competitive top tier deck, and as such just kind of leaves her in that collector sphere. I do think she's a very collectible character, and this is our first Enchanted, so I do tend to put her above some of the other cards that we've seen. But I could also see her kind of being down here closer in value with the Ursula from the base set as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if she dropped more so than I would be surprised if she was any higher than she is on this list. And our last Sapphire card, we've got Ariel's Grotto. I think this card is bad, and I think this Enchanted is bad. I think the only people who are going to care about this are people who are trying to complete the set of Enchanteds. And even an Ariel collector, I mean, this is slightly better than Belle's House. I mean, her Grotto is a more prevalent location than the desk at Belle's House. But even still, like, this Grotto doesn't really jump out to me. Like, when I see this artwork, I don't scream, oh, that's Ariel's Grotto from, the Little Mermaid. And I don't think there's going to be very many people who do as well. And again, the card's just not good. I think there's very little chance that this will be sought after for any other reason other than to complete this set of 18 from the 4th set. All right, now into Steel, which is last but certainly not least. We have Ariel, who I think will be our big chase for the set. I was expecting an Ariel Enchanted in this set with as many Ariels that we had and the lore around the Trident and King Trident. This was my least favorite choice for Ariel. Again, being a Floodborn, she's got armor on. Like, that's just... She's got armor on. She's got this crazy spear. Like, this is not like the imagery of Ariel that, like, again, people will associate with Ariel when they see her. Like, she's recognizable, obviously, with the red hair and the mermaid and the mermaid tail. Like, nobody doesn't know who this character is. But I do think if they had chose either the Amber or Sapphire versions of her for this set with a more traditional look to them, that this card would have even gone even crazier as far as a chase card goes. As it is, I still think it's got the absolute best chance of being the standout chase for this set. I know for me personally, it definitely hurts the value of this card for me that they went with the Sonic Warrior version of her card and not one of the more traditional looking artworks. All right, next one up is Piglet, and I'm going to put Piglet at the top of the collectible one here, and I could be way off on this. I was not excited about Piglet, but I will admit, like, even as far as my Winnie the Pooh fandom goes, he's not one of my favorite characters. Christopher Robin, Pooh, Eeyore, all those, even Kanga and Roo, honestly, would be like a higher demand pick for me. But I know Piglet has a lot of fans out there, and I know I've heard a lot of people talk about how excited they are for this Piglet Enchanted. So he could very well end up in a higher demand spot. Again, I don't think he is very playable. Ravensburger has a thing about characters that can attack active characters. Apparently, they need to have terrible stats and be uninkable. I don't imagine very many scenarios when you have a 3 lore generator with resist that you're going to want to challenge an active character. So I think he's probably been destatted a little bit and made uninkable to accommodate for that extra ability, and I just don't think you're ever going to want to use it. But having said that, I could be underestimating how popular this Piglet character is. I still think that he probably caps out probably in a similar range to like maybe slightly above the Queen at his absolute best. I definitely don't think he goes into the chase category by any means, or competes with like the Fab Five or the Store Championship Ursula. And then our last and least card here, we have the Wall, another location that really just another location which I really just don't see this location getting played. As you notice, these locations don't have any lore generation of their own. It takes 4, it's 2 to move to, and then the only thing it does is protect your other locations from being challenged. So you're committing to having a character here, having this in play, and having another location in play before this location generates any value whatsoever. Now, the Great Wall of China, I'm sure there are many people out there that are fascinated with the Great Wall of China. I don't know that collector necessarily also bleeds over into the Disney collectibles as much. So I can't imagine that the location is more highly sought after than Ariel's Grotto, and I can't imagine it's more playable than something like the Snuggly Duckling, which will probably relegate it to very similar prices as like the Cusco's Palace from last set. So there you guys have it. That's my breakdown for all the Enchanteds that we're getting from Ursula's Return. I'd love to hear what your picks are down in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, Hobby Hero out.